Okay, live there. Hey everyone, Denise and Gio here. Just rolled back into town from a lovely weekend on the Cape visiting my mother, who's 93. She is fully vaccinated for COVID, and I had my first shot on Friday. So we feel pretty good about Haley, about all that. So anyway, just went down Friday right after my first vaccination. She and I had a great time. She's a very spry 93. And we just had a great time. Gio, of course, went with, as he always does, and we had some great walks on the beach, which is always super fun. So if you're on, you always get a lot of lurkers. So, hey, Georgette, just get on and say hello. Let me know where you're listening in from. And today, I know I'm a little bit late, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. I wanted to talk about whether, so a lot of people that are struggling with a dog that they're worried about aggression. They're lunging, growling, barking. Maybe they're growling at you. Maybe they've bit you. Maybe they bit somebody else. You're worried about them biting somebody else. Maybe they're resource guarding. Maybe they're reactive. A lot of times you all end up blaming yourselves. You feel like you didn't do something right. And the big targets are, oh my God, COVID hit and I wasn't able to socialize my dog enough, or I didn't train enough. And if you've listened to anything that I've said, you know that I don't blame the owner. Generally speaking, none of you have caused your dog's problems, certainly not intentionally. There's a lot of bad advice out there, in my opinion. And there's a lot of trainers that think that you can dominate or punish the aggression out of a dog. And that's not true. You're almost always going to make it worse. There are those exceptions where the dog might say, oh my God, I don't ever want to experience that again. But it's very, very rare. So you end up feeling blamed. You blame yourself. Everybody else in the world blames you. If you call the rescue, they're almost certainly going to blame you. Everybody's going to ask, well, what did you do? And if your dog has, or if you've gone to a rescue, here's a familiar story. Well, the dog snapped at a child or nipped at a child. Rarely would they actually use the word bite. But, the child probably deserved it, right? They were probably crawling all over the dog, or poking the dog, or they weren't doing something. They were doing something they shouldn't be. Therefore, the dog's not at fault, the kid is. And so that dog gets passed along, and we can end up with even more problems. So how do you get out of this blame game? Because I see it so much. And while you're, I would say, stuck in blame, feeling totally responsible for your dog's behavior, as if your dog didn't have genetics and didn't, have a brain of their own, and they're a living, breathing being. And as such, they do things that aren't always within your control. But as long as you're sort of stuck in this blame game, then it really keeps your eyes closed to honest help that's available for you and for your dog. It's not just your dog, and it's not just you, because you guys, whether you like it or not, you're really a team. And I've talked about agendas before, that if your agenda is here and your dog's agenda is going like this, well, you're not in alignment, you and your dog, and you're going to have some friction because you're trying to do this and the dog's woo over here going whatever that is. And it creates a lot of problems. Now, I talked to a young woman who has a lovely dog. We've met in person and we've done some Zoom things. And her dog was having a problem with, I think, having medication, put in the dog's mouth, and they were having an ear issue. And she was, I'll exaggerate a little, she was wallowing in blame. Oh, I've coddled him too much. I've spoiled him too much. And whatever her name was, I'm not going to use her real name. I said, Diane, why does coddling and spoiling, what does coddling and spoiling your dog, letting him sleep on the bed, have anything to do with medication administration or cleaning out the dog's ears? Well, where are those two related? And she's like, well, like she couldn't verbalize where or how they were related, but she was sure they were. Like there was some belief within her that said, if I hadn't coddled and spoiled my dog and let him sleep on the bed, I could give him medication and I could take care of his ears. And that's not the truth. They're irrelevant. They're not related. This whole weekend, Gio slept on the bed with me. Love it. And Amy stays here. There's really not enough room in my mother's condo, blah, blah, blah. Gio gets to sleep on the bed. We go out for big beach walks where he's loose and running free, and we practice his recall. And yet, if I had to do something to his ears here, he would have a coronary about it because it hurts, because cleaning the ears is unpleasant for him as it is for this client. But it has nothing to do with where he sleeps, how much I spoil him, how many leftovers I give him, whether I let him lick the plates or sit in the front seat or whatever it is. They're not related, you guys. So I said all this stuff to her, and I could just tell on the phone that she could sort of consciously hear the words, but it wasn't really going into the depths of her subconscious or her psyche or whatever, because she was so rooted in the fact that she had caused this problem with her dog. And I'm still sort of struggling with how to snap you guys out of this. And this is not an example, obviously, of aggression. This is an example of, ear cleaning and husbandry, right? That it's almost like it never occurs to us that it might be unpleasant for the dog, that it might hurt the dog, that the dog might find it totally gross and wants to avoid it at all cost. When my oldest daughter was, she was in elementary school, we had a suspicion that she was allergic to something. And we went to, I don't remember where we went up to Dartmouth to have allergy testing done. And I will always regret this, that I never asked, what is this process? Because I had no idea what the process was. And if I recall right, it was a horrific process. I think 2 nurses came in. She had her shirt up in the back, and they did this thing of basically scraping her skin about 12 different times and then putting these different elements on it, whatever. I'm sure I'm not remembering it exactly right, but it was traumatic for Laura, extremely traumatic. Did I feel responsible? Yeah, in some ways I did, because as her mother, I felt like I should have put the brakes on and said, whoa, what is this process? Talk us through it so we know what to expect. And I didn't, because I just didn't. First child, Laura and I have had this conversation. But so it took years for Laura to be able to get a simple vaccination. We would go up, she had to have, I don't know what she had to have. She had to have something done. And then I said to the nurses, okay, listen, if she says no at any point during this process, we're not going to proceed and I'm going to go home. And she said no a lot. She said no a lot because it was traumatic. And yet I think all of us and you can say, put something in the comments. I think all of us can say, oh my God, that was really traumatic. How could they do that? Why didn't they tell you? Whatever. Like, we can see that in a human being, how traumatic that was. Yet we can't see the trauma that our dogs have either gone through or been through, or that maybe we unknowingly subject them to. And I say unknowingly as I'm talking about ear cleaning, pilling, giving the dog a pill that they won't eat. And there's ways to minimize that, which I'm not going to get into today because that's a whole nother conversation. There's totally ways to help your dog know that the bad thing is going to come. But I feel like somehow packaged in this blame, this feeling like we're the blamed pet parent, we're the blamed dog owner, you're all wrapped up in that. Instead of separating you from your dog, Geo does not like to have his ears cleaned. He loves to have his toenails trimmed. Loves it. I did it before I got on today. When I got home, as soon as he sees me with the clippers, he's jumping around. He's excited. Why? Meatballs or cheese or whatever it is. Every foot that I trim, I give him hundreds of dollars in meatballs for the agony of having his nails trimmed. And I try very hard not to make him bleed, right? Yet when it comes to if I had to clean out his ears or anything like that, no, different story. He doesn't like it. He'll run away, and has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. It's him. He doesn't like it, whether it hurts, whether he doesn't like the feeling, whether he doesn't like the manipulation. I don't know. And I don't care. When I have to clean his ears, I have to clean his ears. And but I'm not necessarily to blame for that. Do you understand what I'm saying? And if I stayed in this place of blaming myself, I wouldn't then be able to help him. And again, there is a clear, you can make you can let the dog know when the bad thing is going to happen. And so this is just a simple example of this young woman blaming herself because her dog didn't like to be pilled. And I said, why are you jamming this pill in your dog's mouth? Just, he's a Labrador, for God's sakes, put it in a piece of cheese. She's like, really? I said, yes. Why wouldn't a vet tell you just to feed the dog the pill with a meal or a meatball or a piece of cheese or a whipped cream cheese or peanut butter or whatever? There are pill pockets. There's a lot of options that you can give a dog a pill and have it be a positive experience from the dog's perspective. Why not just do that? No, she said, okay, great. So when you stay wrapped up in your dog's issues, feeling like you caused it, you're to blame, your dog doesn't like you, your dog doesn't understand you, then you're blocking out a whole bunch of options to really help your dog. But you have to start to see your dog as an individual. Not all labs are the same. Not all poodles are the same. Not all dogs are the same. Some dogs don't care about having their ears cleaned. They're like, whatever, go ahead, squirt the stuff in my ears. Some dogs like Geo don't care about having their nails trimmed. When I take him to the groomer, which is very, very rarely, he's been once in the 5.5 years I've had him, I ask them, do not trim his nails. I do it regularly, and I don't want anybody else to do it. And they're like, okay. Most people go, to the groomers and say, trim my dog's nails, but I don't want anybody messing up with the system that I have with him, so I trim his nails. Okay, so the blamed pet owner. It's more complicated when we're talking about a behavioral issue. I've been using this example of dogs that don't like to have their ears cleaned and how owners blame themselves, and I coddle them and I spoil them and I let them get on the couch, which has nothing to do with ear cleaning. I think that when you can start to see your dog as an individual, and as an individual, Geo loves to have his nails trimmed, does not like to have his ears cleaned, loves nose work, loves hiking, loves running on the beach, is okay with cats, likes people, not overly ridiculously goober social, but he's happy to be around other people, and he's afraid of children. Those are all the things that this being right here, that's who he is as an individual, completely separate from me. I trained him to come when called. I trained him to have a fantastic association with nail trimming, because when I trim his nails, he doesn't just get a couple of these, he gets a bunch of these. He doesn't like kids because he had a negative association as a puppy that the breeder shared with me. Okay. So when my grandchild starts to toddle around or is, a little more mobile, we'll do things to protect Geo. That's who he is. I am not going to try to make him like children. We'll see how it goes. If he shows some interest, if Jackson starts to sit in the high chair and food is being thrown around, probably let Geo up. He can clean the floor and he can start to make this positive association with this being that's sitting in the chair. But those are all the things that I know about Geo as an individual dog. And so my challenge to you guys, and I'd love to have you put it in the comments now, or if you watch it in a replay, do a hashtag replay, but list your dog's individual likes and dislikes. What does your dog love to do? What food does your dog go crazy over? What activities does your dog really enjoy? And how do you know he enjoys it? And don't tell me because he wags his tail. There's a lot of other things. Dogs will wag their tail and they're getting ready to bite you. So it's the least telling end of the dog unless they're scared. Hey, Marilu. So in the comments, start now and tell me all the things. Your dog's name. Here's all the things that my dog loves. Here's the food. Here's the activities. Here's the things he gets excited about. And tell me all the things your dog doesn't enjoy doing. And if you want, tell me why or how you know that. How do you know your dog doesn't enjoy those things? Tucking his tail would be a great indicator, right? Because a tail tuck is nervous, fearful. He avoids you, right? So if I were to go downstairs into the closet and get the things out that indicate I'm going to clean his ears, the Q-tips, the bottle, the cotton balls, once he saw those in my hand, he would disappear. He would run in his crate. He'd go under my desk. He would turn his head. He would do all the body language things that say, oh my God, stay away from me. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay. So hear sounds outside that door. And I think if you can start to make those lists of things your dogs like and things your dog doesn't like, and if you can put concrete evidence to those things, it would tell me that you're not imposing your likes and your dislikes on your dog. Okay? Like that's different. We're back in sort of blame, and we're back in you being responsible. You are responsible for your dog. You're responsible for feeding them and walking them and providing water and vet attention and grooming attention and getting them out and stimulated and filling their genetic cup. But first you have to know what you've got. You have to know who is your dog. So if you can put down specifics of why your dog likes these things. How do I know that Geo loves nose work? Not just likes, he loves nose work. Because I see a lot of happy, excited emotion. He jumps around, he twirls, he spins, he's leaping in the air like he can't do it fast enough. And even my mother, who's 93, she went with me on Saturday to a sniff through with Geo. We drove from the Cape up to Franklin, Mass. And I explained to her, what was going to happen. And she's heard me talk about it. She's seen some videos. And then Michaela told her where the hides were going to be so that she knew what Geo was looking for and where it was, and even though I didn't. And when we came out of there, she said, oh my God, that was so much fun to watch. He loves doing that. Like he's bouncing around and he's got like a happy face on. I'm like, yes, he loves it. And even she at 93 could identify specific things that told her, why that he loves it, not just because I've said so, but because she could identify those things. Okay, Marianne, so your dog doesn't enjoy car rides. Now tell me how you know that. What do you see your dog do or not do that tells you he doesn't enjoy car rides? I believe you. I'm not questioning whether your dog does, but what I want you all to start doing is find the concrete evidence that your dog is saying, oh, I like this, or oh, I don't like this, okay? To start to separate you from the dog, because what you like does not mean what the dog likes. And it will help you tease apart this blame game that so many of you are in. There's a whole nother piece to that blame game. There's also I guess the opposite of that would be trying to avoid having a dog with issues, so you're doing all the other things. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. We'll just stick with blame. Sorry. Sometimes I have squirrel moments. Dawn says loves cheese and bacon, hates hiking, loves to sit and watch the world from afar at the park, but can't get her to leave. Loves a meet and greet, but then wants space, hates bouncy dogs despite being one herself. Okay, that doesn't matter, right? She's bouncy. She can dislike bouncy dogs. Terrified of nail trims, loves to be carried. I only resort to this if she's tired rather than lazy. Marianne whines and barks. I'm not sure, Marianne, that's a reason to say that he hates car rides. Gio will whine in the car if he thinks we're going to Goose Pond or to the beach or someplace that he has some familiarity with. When we start to slow down the car, I'm assuming he's recognizing the environment, he will start to whine. It does not mean in any fashion that he hates the car. It means that he's excited about something. So Marianne, is she or he barking at things outside the window? So does he bark in the house outside the window and then just carry on that behavior in the car? Doesn't mean he dislikes the car ride. It could just mean that he's overstimulated and he's looking at things out the window. So be a little more specific. And of course, I'm going to push you guys. I'm not going to just have you give me simple answers. That wouldn't be any fun. All right, so Dawn, I don't know the size of your dog. When you say hates hiking, tell me what you see in your dog that tells you your dog hates hiking. And you've used the word hates. So is she afraid of hiking? Is she worried about the other dogs on hiking trails? Because there's a lot of loose dogs on hiking trails. Loves to sit and watch the world from afar at the park, but can't get her to leave. Okay, because she's afraid to turn her back to the things that she's watching, and she likes to look at them from afar. I'm just pushing. Again, I'm not having a one-on-one conversation. So here are the things that go through my mind. Okay, is your dog, so it sounds like your dog's at a safe distance and is enjoying looking at, I don't know, kids, other dogs in the park. So is he or she enjoying it from afar, or does she feel safe from afar? Those are two different things in my mind. And then if she won't turn and leave, why is that? Is she afraid to turn her back on the very things that she's been watching at a safe distance? Again, I don't know. You guys can video and post it on either of our groups. We'd love to see that. Loves to meet and greet, but then wants space. So you're using, can you hear the language you're using? Hates, loves. We're really polarizing here. Loves a meet and greet, but then wants space. Okay, so maybe the dog is conflicted. On the beach last night, I had Gio off leash. I was down the beach a ways, and I saw this other dog. And I could see Gio and the other dog see each other. So I leashed Gio back up, put him on his gentle leader. And then I realized that their dog was loose. I'm like, okay, that's fine. The dog is loose. And I'm like, well, the dog is not running towards us. He's keeping his distance from us. Gio is very interested in this other dog. So I'm like, nah, I'm not going to let you go right now. I feel very comfortable with you on leash. And as we got closer, the dog was very hesitant to approach us and approach Gio primarily. And the woman said, oh, do you want me to leash my dog? I said, no, not at all. I said, I'm perfectly fine. I said, your dog seems like he's a little worried about my dog, so I'm just going to keep him leashed so he doesn't overwhelm your dog. I'm sure the woman probably had no idea what I was talking about. And if we turned and walked away, then this dog came up behind Gio and sniffed him from back, and I just kept walking. If Gio turned to look at him, the dog skittered away. Okay, so the dog is worried about other dogs. It doesn't mean he can't have friends to play with, but I didn't feel like Gio was a good candidate in that moment to meet this dog. There was nothing to gain from it. So I would say that dog would have hated Gio bouncing, racing right up to him. So hates bouncy dogs. There's that polar word again, despite being one herself. Absolutely. You know, Amy's dog, Jubilee, who's 14, she's very worried when we have a dog in the house that is barking. So we have a board and trained dog, and she will occasionally bark, and it upsets Jubilee. I'm not going to say she hates it. It causes her worry, concern. She'll get off the couch. She'll come over to one of us. She'll go into a crate as far away as possible. But her whole demeanor changes. She drops her tail. She drops her head. And she tries to get as far away as possible. She's clearly worried, scared about barking. Who's the biggest barker in the house? Jubilee's the biggest barker in the house. Barking out the windows, barking at the deck. You know, it's a pain in the neck. Yet she hates barking. So Dawn, the same thing to what you're saying here, hates bouncy dogs despite being one herself. Yep, makes perfect sense. Terrified of nail trims, okay? Classic, because a lot of dogs don't like to have their feet, they just don't like to have the feet manipulated. Yep. Loves to be carried, only resort to this if she's tired. So it sounds like if you've got a smaller dog, which, you know, small dogs take issue with big, bouncy, idiot dogs if they're depending on how small they are, look at the world from their perspective. Get on the floor and look at the world from their perspective and what they're seeing. I think we'd all be a little more terrified. Okay, so Mary Lou loves bison treats as exhibited by him doing every move he knows without voice commands. Excellent, Mary Lou. Jill says, Goofy loves playing with other dogs, running the fence with the neighbor's dog. Okay, running the fence with the neighbor's dog. I'm not sure that's a positive thing, but butt scratches, jerky, watermelon, cheese. He whines both when he likes things and dislikes. Well, that's a good observation, Jill. So you'd have to sort of look at his body language to see what's happening besides the whining. Jumps around. Sometimes I think he can read my mind about things. No, he cannot. There's where we got to separate you guys. Doesn't like children, will come right to the door to come in if the neighbor's children are yelling. Okay, well, that's a great observation. So, doesn't like children. Let's be clearer about that. I could say that Gio doesn't like children, but the fact of the matter is he's afraid of young children. All right, because some kid, when he was a puppy, hit him with a stick or something. I don't remember exactly the situation, but Gio does not need to be punished more than once in order to learn a lesson. So he is afraid of children because a kid hit him with a stick. And it may not have been very hard. It doesn't matter, but that's why. So I'm not going to say he doesn't like or he hates. I would use the word that he's afraid of. So Jill, I guess what I would like to just flesh out is if the children are out but not yelling, does your dog still want to come in? So is it a combination? Is it yelling upsets your dog, children upset your dog, running, yelling, children upset your dog? Oh, Dawn says she's 10 pounds. She refuses to walk. I think it hurts her back, but has always preferred to be nosy with people movement. Oh, fingers. Marianne says, Tuxedo is in the crate during car rides. As soon as the car starts moving, he whines and barks, eventually settles down the bark and will bark again when car stops. Okay, so that kind of makes sense, Marianne, that he's like, if the car is stopping or slowing down, it might mean he's getting out. There could be something in it for him. So you might see some more, could be excitement. I'm still not sure that he hates it, right? I think that was your word. Let me scroll back. Mary Ann says whines and barks, doesn't enjoy car rides. So lastly, Mary Ann, maybe cover your crate with a sheet or something so the dog cannot see anything. And I'm going to give you the example of my daughter Rachel's dog, who I could say hates car rides, but that's not it at all. She is so visually stimulated, it's obnoxious. And so we put window wallpaper in the house so she can no longer bark out the windows. My daughter with a new baby, hang on. And you cannot drive with her in a car unless she's in a crate and the crate is covered, because she barks and screams and carries on at everything. And it's not disliking the car ride. She's so visually stimulated, she just loses control. She just barks and screams at everything. People, dogs, right? They live in Connecticut, they're everywhere. So it's not, she enjoys car rides, like all that barking and craziness doesn't really affect her in a negative way. It affects us in a big negative way. So we put her in a crate and we cover the crate. She doesn't bark or whine any more or less when we slow down or stop. I don't think she does. I might have to think about that when we've gone to the dog park. Maybe she did start whining a little bit last time, but we've done that a couple times now, so she's kind of got the pattern down. Okay. So good, Mary. I'm glad he's in a crate. I would cover it and see what we get then. 10, John says her 10 distractions is people and movement. She gets so stimulated without, she gets bored and walks, becomes stubborn. So Dawn, this is the 10-pound. She refuses to walk. I think it hurts her. Okay, so now I guess I want to know, why do you think it hurts her? Do you see like all of this, like we're putting stories on our dogs? Maybe it's true. Maybe she's got some issue that I don't know about, but this happens all the time. We put human emotions, we anthropomorphize, we put human stories on our dogs to explain things that we don't understand. But what I want you to understand is you could probably understand more if you saw your dog for a dog and not an extension of you or as a human being. So why do you think it hurts her? And I'm not sure what you mean by always preferred to be nosy with people movement. Her 10 distraction is people and movement. She gets so stimulated. Without, she gets bored and walks, becomes stubborn. Mary Lou says goes wild. Let me see. I gotta go back to see what she said. Loves bison. Okay. Dawn, feet. You think her feet hurt? If the kids come to the fence, he will bark at them and move towards the door. Okay. She has always suffered yeast feet. Oh, Dawn. So that's all right. I'm not going to get into the medical things, but that's interesting. Okay. So what I want you can keep posting. We're going to keep looking at these comments for the next couple of days. If you looked at the replay, just do #replay and then let us know. What I want to know is, what things does your dog like? And tell me specifically the behavior that you see that tells you your dog likes this. And if your dog is afraid of something or doesn't enjoy something, or like Dawn says she has arthritic fingers. I'm sorry, hang on. Dawn, Marianne, who's talking about her dog, doesn't enjoy car rides. I'm sort of trying to flush that out for her. Well, does he not enjoy it, or is he overstimulated in the car, like Zoe, who barks and screams and carries on in the car, so we have to cover her? It has nothing to do with liking or disliking car rides. It has to do with her extreme visual stimulation. Why do you think your dog like if you say hate, I'm going to say, what's hate mean? What do you see in your dog that says, oh, I really am afraid of doing this? And yes, if your dog has, painful feet and there isn't some sort of topical medication, or if you haven't flushed out the food that could be causing that, feed raw, probiotics. She's very sensitive digestive system. Yeah, I bet she does, Dawn. Okay. Dawn, I don't know if you're local. If you are, I would go see Dr. David St. Leifer in Marlborough. He is great solving these kinds of problems, but that's a total aside. So the whole point, let me just recap before I get off. The whole point today is we need you to stop blaming yourself for whatever you're talking about with your dog. Stop blaming yourself for the aggression. Stop blaming yourself for the reactivity. Stop blaming yourself for the barking. Stop blaming yourself. Stop blaming yourself. I know everybody else is going to blame you. That's a whole other topic. How do you stop blaming yourself? Well, let's make a list of all the things that you know your dog likes, enjoys. And I gave you some of the things with Geo. Nose work, loves nose work. How do I know? He gets loose and bouncy. He jumps around. He twirls. Barking is not a part of his picture. He doesn't do that. But he's not sitting calm like this. That's for sure. We're doing nose work, right? Even my mother at 93 said, oh my God, he really loves that, like, because she could see it in his face, she could see it in his behavior, how much he loves that. And then make a list of the things either that your dog either dislikes, is afraid of, is worried about, has concerns over. But if you say hates, then I'm going to ask you, like, what do you see your dog doing or not doing that tells you that? Because a lot of time we have put story upon story upon story about what our dog is doing or not doing, and that can lead to blame, and then that prevents you from really finding the solution. And there are solutions. There's not everything is solvable. Not all aggression can be fixed, and I would argue that lots of aggression cannot be fixed, but you can modify it and you can manage it and you can accept your dog for who they are, which it goes a big way into helping them. All right, you guys. Lots to talk about today. I'm going to keep looking at, I always allow them a slow, sniffy walk. They're terriers, and it's their walk, very calming for them. Yes. And Dawn, that's a great example of filling your dog's genetic cup. Terriers are hunters. They love to sniff. So letting them take a walk where they get to sniff helps to fill their genetic cup. Good for you. Very glad to hear that. Excellent. All right, guys, keep posting the comments. We'll ask you questions back as we see those things come in, and I will see you next Monday. Gio and I signing off, but we have to sign off in a couple of different places. Dun, dun, dun. That's a bye-bye to YouTube.